All right. Hello, everyone. We're back. We're going to do another movie breakdown. We started those last year and then got interrupted by everything. One returning guest, one new guest, joined again by Caleb. Hello, Caleb.
Hey.
He's back in the Great White North. Uh, Emphasis on white? I don't know. Something like
Yes.
that.
Yes, this is actually Hyperborea. You didn't know that, but it's
Yeah, Hyperborea, something like that.
Yeah, it's an
Uh,
Anchorage.
yeah.
Yes, yes.
It's,
And we're also joined. Oh, sorry. We're also joined by Bulge. Hello, Bulge.
Hello, everyone. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, thank you for jumping on. Today we are. I have no strict plan about how to do this. I never have a strict plan, but we're going to be discussing I think one of my favorite movies of all time, and New No Country for Old Men. It's my favorite directors, the Coen brothers. I mean, director
They're
producer.
amazing.
they are
Yeah, the Coen
incredible.
brothers, and I think there's some movies they have that make me feel like really good about the world, like Big Lebowski and Oh Brother Where Art Thou, and then there's
Hmm.
movies that they do that really make me feel like wow, the world is a real dark place, like this film. And I don't know what it means that I like the darker movies like Fargo or No Country for Old Men better, but maybe that's just me. Uh, you know,
But
make
one
of
that
that
actually
what you will.
makes me feel the worst is Burn After Reading because it's so stupid.
Yes, it
Here,
is.
there's like some redemption to the ending. The
Yeah,
scene where where Brad Pitt gets killed.
I forgot
That
about
is
Burn
It's
After Reading.
funny.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
Burn
yeah.
After Reading. Yeah,
Yeah, I
sorry,
forgot about that movie.
I
Yeah,
was translating from a
Brad
Brazilian
Pitt. I
title,
saw that
Portuguese
scene
title.
online with where Brad Pitt gets shot, and it's so funny.
yeah.
I don't know the context. I
And
just
it's
saw the
all for
clip,
like
and it's so
surgery
funny.
to get to look better. And it's so and there's a guy who's like hacked to pieces in broad daylight, and it just like in the middle of it cuts to well, what have we learned? Fuck me if I know. It's
Yeah,
just it's arguably more nihilistic than No Country for Old Men
yeah, it might
because there
actually
isn't
be.
any sense in it. At least in here, we can talk about providence and fate, and especially the ending scene where Sheriff Bell talks about the dream of his father. But
That's my
there's
favorite
none of
scene.
the ending
Yeah,
in both and
yeah,
the book are amazing to me.
yeah.
But there's no consolation in Burn After Reading. It's just like, yep, that's it. Show's over.
Burn After Reading has neither consolation nor philosophy, I would say. It's
Yeah,
the anti-Boethian movie.
it really is.
Okay, I'm
Yeah,
adding that one to the list of movies to watch.
It
it's
is very funny.
it's very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll,
yeah.
I'll, I'll watch anything the Coen Brothers makes. I saw Big Lebowski and No Country for Old Men back to back, and
Oh wow, that's a
but actually
interesting double feature.
not knowing they were made by the same person, not knowing who the Coen Brothers were. I'm like, I need to watch the film. This looks. I watched that those two and Boondock Saints all in one night because I was bored. That
This
was an
is
incredible night.
White Boy Summer, man.
That was
Jeez
three
Louise. Yeah.
perfect movies back to back to back. It was incredible. But as the Coen Brothers go, Big Lebowski is great, but No Country for not No Country. Oh Brother We're Out There was my favorite movie of
Oh
theirs.
Brother's really good.
It's so good,
Yeah,
and the music is great.
yes, the music too. I had that when that movie came out in 2000. I got the CD and I was just I must have been what 13, but I was like, man, that
Mhm.
soundtrack started my love for bluegrass and roots and Americana. So yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
It's a great
That movie is the
soundtrack.
example of why George Clooney, no matter how terrible he gets, and like you're a good actor. Actors are gonna have terrible takes. The Romans knew this. That's why they were segregated. Actors are gonna suck,
Yeah,
but if they're
everyone
good at
knows
what they
this.
do. If the actors are good at what they do, I don't care about their opinions. They're gonna be bad anyway. They're actors. We all know this.
Very true. Well, speaking of great acting, I mean, holy shit! I guess we can just jump in there. Javier
Yeah,
Bardem as really like
she's
the
perfect.
one of the
Silly,
best antagonists on film maybe
silly.
Yeah,
ever.
we can talk about the specifics, like his introduction scene, if anyone
Yeah.
remembers that, where
Yeah.
it's just he's in the
Would
background
would
as
you
the policeman is like, yep, everything's okay. The moment he puts the phone down, just quietly strangles him, doesn't utter a single sound, calmly walks away, drives off, kills another guy, gets his vehicle. Just amazing.
yes.
Incredible. The best, in my opinion, the best scene in the whole movie is the coin toss when he's just that random guy at the gas station.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's
That
usually
is
the one
just
everyone refers to.
so. And he's just chilling because you don't know what he's going to do. Announcing he knows, he's just going to let the coin decide, and that's even more chilling. He's just like, he doesn't care. He's just
Well,
going
yeah,
to
and I mean,
go
don't
about
put
his
it
day, and
the whole
the
bit
coin will decide, and it's chilling.
the whole bit where he's like, don't put it back in your pocket. What?
Yeah.
Don't put it back in your pocket.
Fuck it.
Otherwise, it'll get mixed in with the rest of the other coins and become just change, which it is. And it's like, so it doesn't like the coin is. You think like, is this a mystical coin? No, it's actually not a mystical coin at all. Like,
Yeah, which ties into the what's the name of Moss's wife?
um,
It's a compound name. Right?
Darlene? No, I could look it up.
No.
Not Darlene.
Oh my god.
Charlene, maybe? Let me look it up.
I think it's.
I think you're thinking of other characters from Coen Brothers movies.
We might be. Yeah,
Uh,
let's look this up.
ones.
Carla Jean. That's
Carla
it.
Jean, yeah,
Carla
Carla
Jean.
Jean, played by Kelly MacDonald, who's Scottish, by the way.
which
Oh,
is
yeah.
perfect.
He's from
For-
Scotland.
she
Talk
looks
about
perfect.
sorry, as somebody who's at least a part-time linguist. Talk about perfect accent work.
Oh yeah.
That's West Texas through and through. She
Oh
actually
yeah, she's
does.
amazing.
She does a better accent than Josh Brolin does of that region. Yeah, so it's
Uh-huh.
just she's Scottish. So yeah, but yeah.
This movie actually convinced me Josh Brolin can be a good actor.
Oh,
Can I
you're
walk
Convinced you,
not
he
a Brolin
really
fan?
is.
I've never seen him in anything good. I mean, he played.
What?
Was he Thanos? That's
Yeah,
really all.
but he was actually really good as Thanos.
I
That's
mean,
one of
yeah,
the
but
few things I
voice
can
work
say
is
about
good.
that movie.
It put me in a. I always knew he was like a decent actor, but his acting, I
Sicario,
saw,
he was good in.
he's pretty good. He's really good. I
He
was
is really good as Moss.
yeah, he was much better than I expected him to be. I thought he'd be the weakest link, honestly, looking at all the other actors. No, he was great.
No,
And I
he was
think-
amazing.
I think Brolin too. I think I remember when this movie came out. I remember renting it on like DVD because this is how old I am. I remember renting it on DVD and watching it with my dad, and then we like watched the making of or something like that on the DVD. And I think I remember there was some interview with Brolin where he said that I think when he was growing up, before he was in the Goonies, when he was growing up,
He was in the
like,
Goonies.
Yeah, he's in the Goonies.
I've never
Goonies
seen
never
the
say
Goonies.
die. Don't you know this?
I've never seen the
Young
Goonies.
I
people,
didn't know he
you-
was in the Goonies.
You young,
That's
he
really
said
funny.
he's in the Goonies. Okay, so you youngins, but he would like spend summers working on a horse ranch. I forget where,
Mhm.
but he worked a couple summers as like a hand on a horse ranch or something like that. And so apparently, like a lot of the sort of the archetypes that he smooshed together for Llewellyn were just from people that he like met, just working. I think it was actually he's from California, but I think he went to Texas. He like worked in Texas a couple summers, he said. And so like, but regardless of where he's drawing from, I mean, he sells it as like as a, again, like I think I said before we even started recording, this is such a Texan movie.
Mhm.
It's just a very
Yeah,
Texan
I
film.
think
Like,
all McCarthy novels end up being very. I mean, this was originally a script by McCarthy before it became a novel.
oh,
He
interesting.
wrote, yeah, he wrote it as a movie script, but it didn't sell, and he was like, "Well, I think this idea is good. Fuck you, I'm gonna write a novel." And then eventually, the Coen Brothers, "Hey, we liked your novel," and then they made it into a movie, like 8 years later or something.
Wow. No, that's great. Yeah. No,
I
but
gotta
So-
say,
So
Go ahead.
one of the reasons it flows so well, and if you remember the novel, it actually stays pretty true. Versus some
There-
subplots are dropped. My
Yeah.
favorite subplot, the hiker subplot, is dropped, but it actually flows really well, and all the dialogue is like, except for the accountant, in that scene where Sugar bursts into the room and
Yeah.
kills a guy. Except for
see-
the accountant, all of it is in the book, and it's like straight off from the book.
well, and
yeah, I watched
McCarthy's-
the movie the same day I started the book, and I'm like, wow, that's like word for word.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
the
word
thing
for
is-
word.
yeah.
It's
Word
impressive.
for word. And I want to say, Tommy Lee Jones again. This is
Yeah.
incredible. Just
Yeah.
perfect
And
choice, perfect casting for
he
that
gets to
choice.
show off. Tommy Lee Jones gets to show off that he speaks Spanish, because where he grew up in Texas, you have to speak Spanish and English to like get through your daily life, because
Uh-huh.
it's such a bilingual area, and there are people who just straight up don't speak English or like don't speak Spanish. So there's like he grew up, like Tommy Lee Jones grew up speaking both
Mhm.
languages pretty much, and so he shows it off just a little bit there when at the very end when he goes to and Moss is already dead. But like,
Mhm.
I'm like, yeah, it's like, oh yeah, that's right. He like speaks Spanish. I always forget that
Nice.
Tommy Lee Jones speaks Spanish. Yeah, he's from the part
He-
of Texas where even the white people speak Spanish. That
No,
part.
Mhm.
His throughout the entire film, his kind of this how do I put this? He seemed resigned almost, like
Yeah,
it's
his
all gonna happen.
resignation of-
It's kind of like his facial expression sell at every scene. Like he is ready to be done. He doesn't understand it. He can't grasp it. He's just resigned that the world's fucked up, I guess. And it's that his facial expression sell it every single time. Beautiful acting.
Yeah. I mean, and this is just and I mean Javier Bardem, right? To bring it back. I mean, just
yeah, the main three, there is no weak link between any of them. It
even
really
Woody
is
Harrelson's
just
great in this.
yeah. Even the brief time Woody Harrelson is on, my favorite scene from the movie is not the one at the what is it? What would it be? The gas station? Was it a gas station? Was it a corner store?
Yeah,
yeah, it was a gas station. My favorite scene is the hotel scene between Woody Harrelson and Javier.
If the rule that you followed brought you to
this of what use was the rule.
What use was the rule?
Yeah, everyone quotes that. My favorite one is, "You should admit your situation. There would be more dignity to it."
Yeah,
which is just such a great little line. It's like, you know what's gonna happen. I know what's gonna happen. Just face it. It'll be fine.
Yeah,
or it's not gonna be fine, but you should admit won't be fine.
You should admit, yeah. Well, it's I mean, and we'll see. We can take this wherever we want to go tonight, but I mean, I can't help but the line that Sugar has at the end there with the the rule line. If it feels very is ought problem, kind of like, it's like, well, yeah, why do you upon rewatching it, I was like, yeah, why do we follow the rules? Is it because of the consequences of the rules, or is it because they're the rules? And I have my own autistic Protestant take on that, probably, is that they're the rules and you do it regardless of what of the outcome. But you probably agree with me on that. But yeah, no, it's but man, it's just like he Shiger enjoys being we learned in Big Lebowski that it's exhausting to be a nihilist, but maybe it's not exhausting to be a nihilist, right? Like in No Country for Old Men, I think he enjoys being a nihilist.
Oh yeah, he enjoys
life simpler.
But he also kind of enjoys the idea of following rules. Like, because we were talking, because the reason that we had to find out Carla Jean's name is because we were talking about the coin toss, which comes back at the end, where Carla Jean, I think, says probably one of the most important lines, where it's like, it's not fate, it's not like this rule that's over and above you making you do this. You're doing this. You're choosing this. There isn't like this honor system that you abide to that actually exists. You're just choosing to do this, and you're not facing it. There's this weird thing where he's not facing the fact that he's the one doing it instead of this rule that's making him do it, which is interesting. Well, he also denies the situation.
She kind of wins. She wins the metaphysical match.
Yeah, because she refuses to toss the coin.
Yeah, and she's gonna die. And in a way, she actually does what other people weren't able to do. Is that she admits that she's about to die, and she recognizes that she's about to die, and she just buried her mom, so she's like already kind of in this death mode, but is not gonna play along. And so yeah, in a way, like, maybe that's I don't know, I mean, it's a dark film, but maybe that's the most you can in the face of an evil like that, maybe that's the best you can do. I mean, and I guess you guys might have your own very Catholic take on this, but I mean, is that a kind of martyrdom? I mean, these questions run through my head. Is like,
in a sense, you're dying for some truth,
at least to a certain extent, right? Like that you're unwilling to play the game. Yeah,
I remember Peter Geach was a Catholic, mid-20th century Catholic analytical philosopher. He made the claim, which is disputed, but I think it's at least a reasonable claim to make, that if a man dies for saying that pi, the value of pi is like 3.145, so on, he has died for truth, no less than a man who dies for the doctrines of Christianity. He's dying for what is true. It's still, in some sense, he is a martyr, even if a lesser one.
Right.
I mean, my go-to example is Socrates, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's also, yes, that is true. And Carla Jean is kind of white trash, so maybe she's also white trash.
Yeah, white trash Socrates.
Right? Yeah.
I beautiful.
I would call her a redneck, not white trash, but that's a topic for another day.
That's a minor distinction, but yeah. I think one of my favorite parts about what's his name, Anton's character, is the small smile you see sometimes in his face, the small little the side of the lip smile, where it's like, you're kind of enjoying this, and that's what makes it even more cool. He's so deadpan, and this is a few moments where he has a small smile, and you're like,
and you see that when he's about to kill someone. When he does it with Carla Jean, when she says, I just buried my mom and I haven't even paid for that either. He says, that won't be a problem. He has a little smile. With Woody Harrelson, when he comes up behind him, he says, let's go to your room. There's a smile there as well.
It's so good.
Yeah.
What else was he in? Anthony Banda. What else was he played in?
Which one?
The guy who played Anton. What else did he play in?
Javier
I
Bardem,
know
so
I know him from something else, but I don't know what it
Well,
was.
he's Javier Bardem was Stilgar in Dune.
He was also a James Bond villain in
Yeah.
Skyfall.
That's not where I know him from. I know him
Silva
from, where
or
I
De
know him
Silva,
from.
whatever that one. Yeah, the Skyfall villain.
Oh, I think I know him from. Yeah, wasn't he in? Was he in Pirates of the Caribbean 5?
Yes,
That's
he's
where I
the
know him from.
Spanish
Yes, he was.
captain.
Captain Sound. That's what
where
I
you
know him
it
from. Okay,
I knew him from Skyfall. That's the first time I think I
I've
saw
never
him.
seen a Bond film.
They're
Yeah,
they're not
Some
for
are good.
everyone.
Yeah.
Some are good. Yeah.
I said one of the things I really like is that the Tommy Lee Jones character is just chasing a ghost the entire time.
Yeah.
Just always one step behind, chasing like he's putting it pieces together correctly, but kind of always one step behind till he gets to the room and misses him. And just that ending scene, I was on the edge of my seat because I expected a final shootout to happen in the film the entire time, like it's building up to the shootout, and then Llewellyn's dead, so I guess it's gonna be Tommy Lee Jones, Old West shootout, and it's
Oh no, yeah.
I'm blue
You're
ball the entire time.
You
There's
are
no shootout.
unfamiliar with McCarthy if you thought
Yeah.
that was how it's going to go down. That
I
is
like-
never how it goes down with
No,
McCarthy.
it was just, yeah, it was so good. It was like the whole thing, like this is a western to the very end, like, and now it's an anti-western, and I'm like, okay, I guess we're critiquing westerns now.
But is
What's
it
wrong
an
with it?
well, I guess that's a good question. Is it an anti-western, really?
I think it's just a
It's-
Western.
I think it's just a
good
Western, yeah.
It's one of the later westerns, though. It's not like one of the early westerns. It's like the later 80s.
No,
and
it
90s are much more-
understands. You can say it subverts tropes, but I don't think a deconstruction. I don't even like calling it deconstruction, but a subversion of tropes is necessarily somewhat comes from a writer who's condemning said tropes. He just wants to do. He has something else to say.
I read a book a while ago. And I can't remember any. Like I can't remember much of it, but there was like 3 eras of westerns, and they each kind of one focused on like the lone lawman period, and there was the next one kind of focused on the anti-hero, the guy who lays out the bounty hunter type, and then there was the third generation westerns that kind of critiqued all westerns and the concept of westerns, and this one felt more like a blending of all of them because you had 3 different characters who kind of represent each era. You know, you have Llewellyn, the anti-hero, you have Tommy Lee Jones, the main Western guy, and then you had Segura and he's kind of just kind of the anti to all of it. So it kind of felt like the movie was covering a commentary on all 3 different genres of 3 different phases of westerns to me, almost.
But I would say Shigura's not because he's a villain. He's not like a Western villain from other times.
No,
He's
no.
very much. I think that's sort of the point that Sheriff Bell claims to not be able to recognize this kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's like where he talks about with the other deputy about the news and like I forget what the news was like some murder or whatever that was committed that was horrific. That went on for like 20 years. They kidnapped people and so on. He's like, I can't deal with this anymore. It's like I thought the world had order and there isn't.
They're
now.
killing seniors to cash their like social security.
Yeah,
checks,
yeah, something
and
like that.
And
yeah.
the man escaped with a dog collar, and that's how like it was running.
Yeah,
around.
only
That's
a
how they
dog
caught him.
collar, naked except for that.
Naked
He
except-
quotes
yeah.
the news. Yeah, he quotes the newspaper. And then the deputy doesn't know what to do, but he looks like Dudley Do Right, the deputy, which is so good too.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, sheriff, he was just here. Yeah.
So I want to real quick. I want to there's a scene where Joss Brolin's character ends up in Mexico,
Yeah.
and there's that Mary
Yeah.
Austin band singing to him. I found the translation for what they were singing. I think
Okay.
that might find it interesting. It basically translates to you wanted to fly without wings, you wanted to touch the sky, you wanted many witches, you played with fire. You wanted to play with fire. This is
Okay.
basically how it goes. I think it just sums up his character.
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
He's also
Yeah.
a welder, which fits into that.
It does.
Yeah, it's true. It's a welder. Yeah.
So
I
it's
can
such a
weld
great choice.
anything.
I can weld anything. Yeah.
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 When Woody Harrelson starts questioning him about it, it's great.
I gotta say, I love his when he comes across the suit out and he goes, "I ain't got no water, I ain't got no agua," and it's like,
Yeah.
leaves the guy, and he's like, "I probably should go back."
Yeah, there are no
Incredible.
Lobos here.
Yeah, ain't no,
And just
ain't
walks
no
away.
Lobos here. Yeah. Yeah,
It's
that's
great.
the weird code of honor, right? Like because Moss, I think, is clearly a lot better a person than Shiger, and that's not really saying much because Shiger is so awful. But he has this weird kind of like he'll take the money from drug dealers. He won't help the guy initially who's dying, but then will go back knowing that the guy is clearly already dead at this point, but will go back with the water just to say that he at least did bring the water. It's in knowing that he, and I mean, and like Carla Jeans is like, what you doing? Fixing to do something dumber than hell, but I'm gonna do it anyhow, right? Like, it's like that. I mean, to the best of my knowledge, none of my Texan family did something that's quite that crazy, but that is something. There's this weird kind of like stubbornly. There's a stubborn quality to Texans, particularly older Texans. This is changing, but like the old, like my grandparents, right, were like they're raised in the Depression in North Texas and like dirt poor, and so like talking to them when I was growing up, there was kind of this like, yeah, we'll do the right thing. We might not enjoy doing the right thing, but we'll do it kind of begrudgingly. There's something very
begrudgingly
Texan about
doing the
that.
honorable
like,
thing. Yeah.
like the code like must be fulfilled, even though like by Llewellyn going back, he's just making things worse, right? Like, and he knows that, but he will still do that. So yeah, and I mean, and that contrasts that, I guess, a little bit to Carla Jean at the end, where she just will not call it. She just will not call it. Yeah, again, I don't know if that qualifies necessarily as virtue, but it definitely is stubbornness, and that's a thing that is just. And each of the characters is stubborn in their own way, and the stubbornness kind of does lead to I don't want, maybe their downfall in some cases, but it definitely like hampers their ability to handle what's happening. It's like Sheriff Bell, right? He can't, like you're just talking about, Bulge, like he can't adapt to the new world, and he's aware of that, but he just can't do it. And he's like, I just can't match this. I can't operate where I'm thinking down these kind of paths of what behavior could be possible, because it's just not. Yeah.
There is one scene as well that kind of, and the book it's more explicit, but they actually handle it really well in the movie, where I think he goes to talk to his wife's brother. I forget the family.
Ellis. Ellis.
Yeah, Ellis. What's his exact? Is it his brother or his wife's brother?
I think it's his wife's brother.
Yeah, me too. I think so too, because she's the one writing to him.
Yeah,
and he talks about your grandfather.
And so he was shot. He was a lawman and was shot, right, on duty
in the back.
In the back, and he's paralyzed, and so he's on like disability or pension.
And he
or
talks about how his great uncle was a deputy, and like 7 or 8 guys went and killed him.
Well, 7 or 8 Indians.
Indians, yeah. That's true. 1909. Yeah, 1909. Yeah, that's true. And it kind of reminds, like, oh no, this kind of violence has been around for a long time. It resurfaces in different eras.
The Western, right? Like that's kind of like the weird sense.
The border between order and like barbarity is kind of what Westerns play with.
And also the strange codes, right? Because you would have people like a lot of, and I know that Brazil had a period of Wild Westness as well that I don't know much about, but I know that was a thing. Brazil,
very much so.
Oh yeah.
What do you mean by this exactly?
The line between lawman and bad guy was sometimes very fuzzy, right? Like, because you would have a lot of times like sheriffs would go knock over banks in another county or something like that and steal money, but then they would go arrest bank robbers in their county. I mean, that was not unheard of. I mean, they were essentially just mercenaries, right? Like, so.
Beautiful.
Yeah, like that is also very like, I mean, I guess in a way in the end, right, Sheriff Bell is being confronted with the fact that this is just what it's always been, kind of. It's not anything new. It just really, it maybe looks different and they have maybe better weapons now, but that's the barbarity is always there. And that's very McCarthy, as you that's just very like, that's typical McCarthy, is like, humans have we've always been this way. It's nothing. No clutching of pearls around here, right? Like this is.
I think has Bell ever? I think he has a dialogue where did he say he never fired his weapon? It was only, I think in the book, I know he was shot at 2 or 3 times before, but I don't think he ever fired a weapon. Which is, I think, important to the character, but he's never actually.
He's in the movie in the beginning. He's talking about the fellows in the old times, right? Like, and so his very romantic view of what the old times was. They never, some name it, never even carried a gun. Now, I mean, that's sometimes, and that's the Andy Griffith model, right? Is like, I don't carry a gun. I mean, that is not unattested. I mean, there are not anymore. There were some communities where you would have enough social trust where and the crime was of such a low level, like, oh, somebody was drunk and fell over, or somebody stole someone's, chicken or something, or stole a couple eggs and we're angry about it. Like in a situation like that, you would sometimes have lawmen who didn't bother wearing a gun. But I mean, but in the 80s, I mean, this is what takes place in 1980. By the time of the 80s, it's like, no. Like that world,
Yeah.
if it ever did exist, it has been so dead for so many years because the community that could support that kind of, with that amount of social trust, is just gone, right? Like you just don't have that. And that's the thing, I guess, with Bell, is because he's never lived in that world, but he has the inherited memories of that world, right? And so I think that's when, upon rewatching the film this time, I was thinking about that, like, yeah, like inherited memories that are not even your they're like cultural memories. They're cultural memories.
Yeah,
of
there's
what
stories passed down to you about, wait, yeah, because he's from a family of lawmen,
right?
you know,
Yeah,
which is important as well, very important to the character, and adds more weight to the fact that he resigns at the end. That he
yeah. I mean, and it's interesting too because
quits.
I mean, my family has an interesting kind of history, but so I had my great uncle was Dallas police for a long time, and then like my that would have been would that have been him? Yeah, he was at Dallas police during the JFK assassination.
Wow.
And so he was like dealing with like crowd control, like, and all the aftermath of that. And so he had I mean, so that was a thing. So that's I guess a Texas connection and a law connection. And then my dad was a cop for over 2 decades up here in the Pacific Northwest. So I mean, and it's not like everyone in my family's been in police. They have not. But like that also, I mean, I think that's also why this is I just can't help but love this movie, because even though it's so dark, it's like the generational remembering of what it is to be someone who stands up for truth and justice, but then like what does that actually look like on the ground? It's really messy, actually, right? Like because you don't get to save people like you think, right? Usually you don't get to, and usually, like you've all been saying, you're in Sheriff Bell's position of where you're trying to, it's always 2 or 3 steps ahead, and you're just trying to catch up with the evil, and it's already moving on, and by the time you get there, there's just bodies or somebody's hurt.
Yeah,
and
even when Bell could have helped, well, for example, when he talks to Carla Jean, when he tracks her down,
yeah.
Llewellyn is having none of it. He's like, nope.
Exactly.
And it is only Carla Jean later, and the fact that she takes so long to tell Bell is like, and he arrives just after the hitmen are gone.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, yeah. So even when he could have helped or gotten police there to help, because he's already kind of an old man, it's like, no, well, it's too late because people didn't ask for your help beforehand or didn't want it when it was time.
It reminds me of something that my dad always said, because you know he was just patrol. He wasn't like homicide detective or anything like that, but he was patrol in a major city in Seattle. And he always told me growing up, you know, sometimes people just make, he says, sometimes good people make really bad decisions and they die.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
which is kind of the story of this movie.
Yes, that's Llewellyn Moss. He's like, I don't think he's a bad guy. I really don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's like, these are dirty people killing each other. I might as well take this money because it's not going to do anyone any good out here. And I can't fault him. I mean, I think it's probably not a wise decision, but I'm like, I don't really feel like, I mean, I can kind of understand what that, I don't think you're a horrible person for thinking that. But I think you probably should have been smarter about it. But
like, the book talks a lot about greed. More with it explicitly talks about Mammon. There's a line where Sheriff Bell, I think, says that he should study up on Mammon because he thinks that's going to become more relevant soon when he's talking to a lawyer. And also speaking to Llewellyn being a good man, in the book he dies because Vahimon go into the wrong room and get the hitchhiker who hitchhiked with him to this motel, and like he in saving her dies. I think she dies too, but in trying to save her is when he gets shot, but I think he also kills the hitman there. So he is self-sacrificial. He is willing to lay down his life.
That should have been in the film, I think, because this. I always say that
I do like the cut to he's just dead.
Yeah,
but that's very Coen Brothers.
It's a great scene because I'm watching like okay, when's the suit out? Because he had that moment he's running away from the hotel as the girl is coming up and trying to suit him, and that entire scene is super intense. And then I'm like, okay, we're building to the suit out, and then the next scene I'm like, oh, he's dead? Like for real? I didn't believe it. Actually, because I was playing like
that's everyone's first reaction to it.
No fucking way. Rewind. I'm like, oh shit, he's dead.
Yeah,
it was jarring. I'm like, this is not. get busted from there to the end of the film. Like, this is not going to go how I think it is. That's just kind of experienced it now, but it was really good.
Yes, the Coen Brothers made a change there, for sure. But I think in some ways it almost made it feel more realistic.
Yeah.
Because people just people just
Oh,
kinda
he's just
dot,
that now.
like
Yeah,
you're just
because
dead
everyone
now.
forgets, which is he actually used this really well. McCarthy did as well because he barely showed the other side. We just followed the three main characters, but we forget there's another side who also wants that goddamn money.
Yeah.
And it's not just Shigur
Yeah.
and the guys paying him. There's the Mexicans as well who
Right.
want their fucking money for the dope.
Right.
So they're going after the money too. And yeah, and then like, because no one's because Shigur I think killed a few of them before. In the book, he kills like 5 more of them or something in another shootout. But yeah, so he's just dead now because he was only thinking of Shigur because he
Yeah.
wasn't careful enough.
Yeah. Well, he definitely bit off more than he can chew. But again, yeah, he's
Mhm.
like yeah, but again, it just that thing my dad always said, just it's like sometimes good people
Yeah.
make really stupid
Really stupid
decisions and they end up
decisions.
dying because of it. You're like, well,
There we go.
Yep.
He did.
that's how I was raised, is don't be stupid because you can end up dying from it pretty easily. So yeah. Yeah, and again, I can't help but love Llewellyn, but he's clearly, I mean, he's flawed as we all are, and it is just one bad decision after the at least in the movie, right? It's like, oh, what are you doing? Particularly upon a rewatch, because then you can
Mhm.
start seeing, like, you can see how, like, the mouse trap is closing.
Oh, it was, dude.
Mhm.
It was
And
tough.
he's
Like,
smart.
when Woody
He's
Harrelson
great.
was like offered to help him out and take the money,
Yeah,
and he just no, but then he calls him right after he got shot. You're like, oh, dude, you should have just said yes.
Yeah.
You didn't want
yeah,
to, like, you just want to strangle the guy. Like, you were so close. You had it out.
Yeah.
You would have been fine.
Speaking of fate, that's also one of the things that's so good about the movie. During the conversation with Woody Harrelson, Woody's like, I know where the briefcase is. Just, we
yeah,
can go there. You can have it in 15 minutes. He's like, I know something better. I know where it will be. It will
yeah.
be delivered to me.
Yeah,
And then
it'll
he
be
shoots
brought
him against the
before
car.
me or whatever
Yeah,
it is. Yeah,
yeah, it will be brought before me
yeah,
and placed at my feet. Yeah, it will be
yeah,
brought
yeah,
before me and
Incredible.
like he's like this foreign king who tribute is being paid to.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so good. And Woody Harrelson is like, this guy is fucking psycho.
I think
You
at
can
that
see him
point,
sweating.
yeah,
It's
he
so
knows he's
good.
dead. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah. Well, what is it the line that he said earlier though, that Anton Shigur believes in some ways he believes in more and things more than we do. He has his own internal code or whatever it is. He
Mhm.
holds things even more valuable than money, right? Like, and so in a way,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess this is
Which is
maybe
why he went after Carla Jean.
right. Maybe this is
Because
what
there
a
was
way
no
we
money in it.
yeah, there's no money. So this is something that I was thinking about, and maybe we can take the conversation here because I think it's trending in this direction anyhow. Um, is it like, okay, Sugar is obviously super evil, but in a way, I mean, if evil is the perverted, twisted good, in a way, he has a kind of a moral. It's a horrible moral and not a real moral, but like he's really does believe kind of in this perverted sense of like he is the destroyer. Like he's
He kind of understands you should serve something.
yes, yeah,
But
and
he also thinks that fate should serve him in a way.
right.
There's 2 moments in the movie where it doesn't, which is when he tries to shoot is it a crow or a raven, or are they the same thing? I don't even
I
know.
think I think it looks like a crow, or maybe if they're in Texas, it might be a grackle.
Yeah, which is I
Grackle?
think Coen Brothers are
Grackle,
trying
yeah,
to associate that with fate. Very
yeah,
because very used symbol for fate.
right.
And when he gets, I think in the book, I don't remember. Oh my! In the movie, does he run a red light? In the book, he's just not wearing a seatbelt, and then he gets fucked up
Yeah.
at the after killing Carla Jean. And it's like 2 moments where it's like,
No,
okay,
in the
maybe
movie, he
fate isn't
follows the
on his
traffic
side.
laws. He
Yeah,
follows.
Oh
the
yeah,
guy, and the guy
He
hits
follows
him.
the traffic laws. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
really
He
thought he was
yeah,
gonna
but
die
even
in that
better. I
scene.
think that's actually slightly better than the book where he doesn't and he doesn't have his seatbelt on because he refuses to have it on for some reason. I forget which.
I
Why?
gotta say, I
But
love
it's
how
great.
the ending parts with him is he bribes the kids, gets the shirt, and the kids immediately start arguing about the money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was their way
I'm
of
like,
talking
that's
about
so
great. It's
good.
that and when
So
Llewellyn is like bleeding, like obviously fucked up after his shootout with Sugar, and like
Medico,
he
por
comes up upon
favor.
no,
The
but
money is
before
just
that,
completely soaked. Yeah.
just but before that, the free guys when he's crossing the border, like he offers like $100 or I forget, it's like a crazy amount of money
Yeah,
for
to
that
the
time for like for a
Yeah.
jacket.
Yeah.
And then the other guy, like, yo, can you give me your beer? And then he instantly goes, how much for it?
Yeah.
It's like, it's great. It's there because these were in the book, if I remember correctly. So this is them trying to fit in one of McCarthy's theme into the script.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Great work from their side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably need to. I'm gonna rewatch the show. I think I only saw it the one time, so I'm gonna definitely after this podcast probably gonna watch it
It
again.
deserves
Just kind
a
of,
rewatch.
you know,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a
the
great movie.
ideas. I think it definitely was it was way different than I expected. And I mean I've known about this film. I mean I don't know why, but I remember like super young, like when it was first coming out the DVD, walking through a Target and seeing No Country for Old Men. What's it about? Killing old people? Like, I just didn't know what it was. I'm like 8 or
It's all
9
about
or something.
euthanasia.
And I'm like, what the fuck? Who's these eyes? Because the guy like those eyes are weird, and then not thinking about it until like last week whenever we planned this. I'm like, oh yeah,
2 weeks.
that movie exists. I should probably see what it's about. I had no idea what it was, but it was really good.
Yeah, I mean, subversion of, as we've been saying, subversion of, I think as even Bulge pointed out, subversion of expectations is the Coen Brothers kind of main MO, right? Like
Oh yeah, what did you think of the soundtrack, Caleb? Or the fact that, or the lack of it, I should
Yeah,
say.
I mean, the fact that it's
Yeah, it
only
was-
wind, you only hear
Yeah,
wind.
that was again another thing. Like I'm always watching movies
also
like
very
halfway
Texan.
watching films. You know, like I
Just
very rarely
quiet.
sometimes just watch a movie, so I'm always expecting some kind of ambience and noise. So like I'm looking over the screen, I'm like there's no noise. I felt weird. I mean, maybe it's just being Gen Z, always having some kind of audio input.
Yeah.
Not having that was kind of like this is jarring. This is weird. It was like really weird.
It's great.
In the
I love it.
hotel scene when Llewellyn goes out the window, it's great because you hear everything.
Yep.
You hear what
I mean, it's so
Llewellyn's
much more
hearing.
intense.
You hear him figuring out what's he's trying. I mean, it's the fight or flight. It's everything. It's like, and like, when do I fire? That was like, he's like figuring out when he shoots. Do I shoot now or do I shoot later? Do I wait till he's in front of the door? But how you can see like kind of the mental calculus of Llewellyn. Is the shotgun shell, is the buckshot going to go through the door? I mean, you can see all that. He's like, he's waiting. And we know that he's been in Vietnam and has fought.
Yep.
So he's like combat trained. So he's like doing all this like mental math of like, when do I shoot? I shoot now. And then he gets out the window and then obviously, gets shot running down just all of that. There's no music to distract you from the fact that it's like
It's so intense.
You're in Llewellyn's shoes
awesome.
trying to survive. Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, and or like even just that later in that scene where he hops in the car and the guy just gets shot in the throat and he's dying while he's trying to drive. I mean,
it's just it was a wild scene to me. I'm like, I'm like, this is the hero. This is a good guy. He's just trying to get out with some money, and the guy gets random bystander trying to help him out, gets killed. And he just doesn't even acknowledge it. Just kind of hunched over and still trying to steal. Hits the gas, like not even acknowledging the stranger who helped him just got shot in the neck. It's intense scene.
Yeah,
it's really good.
It's one of the better. I mean, I guess so. We were talking about there's no final climatic sort of shootout, but that is in some ways. So I've never been in a shootout.
That's the climax of the action in a way.
I've never been in a shootout. I pray I never am. But so I'm not gonna say it is realistic because I don't know what that's like, and I hope I will never know what that's like. But it's so not grandiose, right? It's like it's so messy. It's so messy. There's no. I mean, yes, Chigurh's the better shot for sure. He's a trained assassin. But as we've been saying, Moss fought in Vietnam, so it's not like he's not a pushover.
But he hits Chigurh. Chigurh has to go heal.
Yeah.
He has to
Dude,
rob a pharmacy.
He's doing his own medicine in the bathtub.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was insane. It's like the scene, the room when he hopped in the bath. It was, yeah.
In fact, in the book, if I remember, in the book, he actually gets the drop on Chigurh, but he's never seen Chigurh. To him, he's just another lackey. So Chigurh has his back to him, so he kind of like holds a gun to him and then makes his escape, and then the shootout happens. If I remember in the book, So because he doesn't want to kill, because he's killed before, but he doesn't actually want to kill if he doesn't feel he need to. Right. But he's never seen Chigurh before. This is just some guy who's like, okay, maybe I scared him. I can go my way now. And McCarthy has the thing. He has this in Blood Meridian too, where it's like, if you have evil in your sights, just pull the trigger.
Yeah.
You don't need to think about. Don't hesitate. Just for the love of God, pull the trigger.
Well, and so I mean, if Chigurh has a weird, very perverted sense of service, of self-sacrificial service, then maybe on a flip side of that is that Moss has kind of I don't want to say perverted, but definitely a misplaced sense of maybe of mercy, right? You could maybe even say. right? Like he's
Mhm.
he's merciful when he shouldn't be, because he's merciful to something that actually will eat mercy for dinner,
He's merciful to
right?
the
Like,
guy who,
yeah,
similar to the scene with with water, where it's like the guy's dead,
Yeah,
but he's
I
still
was gonna
going
bring that
back.
up.
It's like,
yeah,
what are you
he's still
doing?
going back. Yeah, but why are
It's
you doing that, right? You're not going to save
Yeah.
him. You know
Yeah.
you're not going to. You know he's dead. You know he's dead. You
You
know
know
he's dead. But what's the water
Yeah.
going to do? It's going to do nothing, right? Yeah, yeah. The water's not going. And you say to your own wife, "I'm fixing to do something dumber than hell, but I'm going to do it
I,
anyway."
I
But
love
why?
that scene where it's like, tell my mom I love her. Your mother's dead, Llewellyn.
Yeah,
I'll tell her myself that.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
It's so good.
it is good, but yeah. I think a point maybe we're circling here, or orbiting, is that, like, the importance of a code, but then the importance of having the right code, the correct code,
Yes.
right? That you can have a code, great, but like technically Sugar has a code. It's not a good one, and
No.
and Moss has his own kind of weird version of, like, the Western, lone gunman code of, like,
Mhm.
look out for yourself, but still try to, like, help other people. But both of those codes are ultimately very flawed. One more than the other, obviously, but like they both lead to down to your own kind of downfall. Because of Llewellyn's sort of, bootstrapping, I'm a Texan, I can do it all on myself. Like, that's what gets him into the problem in the first place, because he took the money.
Yeah.
And
And
then
then
he
he
has
refused help from
help. He has all
Bell
these opportunities for it's like
and
it's
Woody
a,
Harrelson. If he had just called Woody Harrelson that moment, he might have, like, Sugar might have gotten the briefcase and then just never bothered with Llewellyn.
well,
Because if what's his name, Woody Harrison's character, I forget his name,
oh man, I forget. Let's look it up here. Yeah, we
but
can.
if Harrison's character had the briefcase and then
Carson
went to his hotel,
Wells.
yeah,
Carson
yeah,
Wells.
Wells, yeah. If Wells had the briefcase, went to his hotel, got killed by Sugar, Llewellyn's scot free.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, he's fine,
Well, it
and he
is
has $14,000 probably because
exactly, which
Wells
is a
would
lot
pay
of
him.
money in 1980.
Yeah, which is quite a bit of money.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's like it is that, I hate to bring it up, but I'm going to bring it up. It's that stupid joke about, like, the man was in the hurricane and the floodwaters were rising, and he's like, God, please help me. And then, like, all these various things come by to help him. He's
Yeah.
like,
I
no, I'm
love that.
waiting for
I
God to
love
help
that
me. And then he
joke so
dies.
much.
He's like, I prayed for you to help. He's like, I sent you all these things. I mean, like, how many more things could you have to help you, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's a bit like that.
It really is. He has many opportunities to just kind of get away from it all. I mean, he could even probably at a very early point, he could have probably found the tracker and just like, fuck this, I'm like, take $100 bills and leave.
Yeah.
Like, take a stack and just go out his
Yeah,
own
because if he
way.
would have left, I mean, I guess, would Shigur maybe have kept on tracking him because of his weird code? Maybe, but I feel like I guess maybe that's that's another thing about to ask about the Carla Jean scene at the end. Why is does Shigur have to kill her only because of, like, him having been slighted by Moss, or what's going on there?
I
Like,
think it's
I
because
don't.
like
I
he
think it's because he
told.
promised.
Yeah, he
It's because
promised.
he said, if you don't do this, I will kill her.
yeah,
And then
He's
Moss,
a man of his word.
through fate, didn't do it. Didn't have the. In a way, it's a kind of like, I don't know. He's probably not pissed, but maybe in the meta way, it's like the writer is pissed that there wasn't a climactic shootout between the both of them, so he now has to go avenge the lack of it. It's like, well, you promised you were either going to kill me or I was going to have kill you, and that didn't happen. So I now need to kill your wife because I promised you. So that's it. Yeah, he even says, "I promised your husband," and
yeah, I
Carla
guess
Jean's
that's
like,
true.
"Well, wait, your husband asked me to kill you." In a way, Shigur's interpretation is, yeah, he did. In a way,
Yeah,
it's like, by not delivering it, yeah, he asked me to kill you, and I'm here to, and I promised him I would, and I'm here to fulfill that promise because that's the rule the rule he follows.
That's the rule.
Mhm.
Man, it's the dark side of autism. Jeez, I guess it is the rule, right? I mean, it's yeah.
The dark artist and John Segura.
Yeah, I know. I don't think he's our guy. I'm not saying he's our guy. I'm just
No,
saying,
he's totally our
you know,
guy, boys.
like
I do
recognizing
find it-
like,
Call it.
oh, there's a rule, I guess.
I do want to ask you both because it's been a while since you, Doc, read the book, and you
Yeah.
haven't read the book, Caleb. Did
I
any of you
started.
ever speculate why Shigur was arrested? Because that is revealed in the book in like by like
It's been forever.
6/10 of the book of the way through. But did you? No, just thinking of the movie.
Yeah.
Did you ever speculate why? Because he could probably kill that guy before he got arrested. He didn't need to let himself be taken in.
Speeding?
Did you guys ever speculate why?
Speeding?
Because I find it an interesting decision that they started the movie without ever showing what
Yeah.
crime he committed and why he let himself be arrested, because he never talks about it to anyone. He talks about it to Wells in the book, if I
I mean,
remember
I assume
correctly.
he needed the call, so he, I don't know.
In the book, he just says, first, I think someone insulted him in a restaurant, so he invited him outside to fight, and then just killed him, and then waited to be arrested. And he was let himself do it because he'd read about like how to escape handcuffs or like how to jump over them, and he was curious if he could do it in an actual situation. That was it. He was just curious.
Oh,
That's all, which is so interesting.
awesome.
I mean,
That's
yeah.
I love that character. McCarthy's such a great writer.
He
But-
is.
he is.
Yeah.
I've gone halfway through Blood Meridian, and I'm like, this guy's great.
Yeah.
Oh,
Blood
that's
Meridian
interesting.
is a rite of
Blood Meridian's
passage. Every
yeah.
American, and even non-Americans, but even every American needs to read. Every American male needs to read that book.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'd recognize a lot of Brazil in like parts of that book, especially in
Hey, you
the
look out your
parts where
window
it's
and
like
you just see,
where
oh,
they're
there it
Mexican.
is.
So since we have somebody from Brazil, I keep again, your English is so flawless. I keep forgetting.
Thank you.
Yeah, if only I could. I like to think I speak the language I speak pretty well, and I do, but I'm not nothing like that. So props to your accent and everything. But so from a Brazilian perspective, who's obviously who also is an Anglophone and is
Yeah.
clearly is well versed in American pop culture, and right wing Twitter aesthetics and all the things.
Yeah.
Like did the themes of the movie and or the book No Country in particular, did they strike you as being like prototypically American, or how much did you find resonance from a Brazilian, from like Brazilian history, Brazilian culture, Brazilian narrative storytelling structure? I'm just because I know nothing about that, so yeah.
So, all right. Usually, in a lot of our stories, especially, I mean, have you ever seen Elite Squad, the movie?
I have.
All right. That's basically the archetype for a lot of our stories starting from like 1940 about ourselves and about our lawmen in like the 19th century especially.
Yeah.
So usually it's more about the dichotomy between a guy who is perfectly willing to commit violence to preserve the law, but how far can he go? Will he go? What are the consequences for that? What are the meta consequences for that, like second order political consequences for that, especially they deal with that in the Elite Squad movie, but the book series O Tempo e o Vento, which I don't like because the prose is really boring, but if you just read the summary, it's really interesting. O Tempo e o Vento, Time and the Wind by Érico Veríssimo talks a lot about that in the 19th century, especially with several minor wars we had. The War of Canudos is it Canudos, which is a religious one, I forget. But we did there's a lot more about religion, especially because our government, when it became Republican, became explicitly atheist. So it actually killed a colony of Catholics who were like, well, we don't recognize your non-Christian government, so we're not going to pay taxes. And then they literally killed everyone there after like three failed invasions. Yeah, I believe that's the Canudos War. Very few people know about that because it was still a 90% Christian country until like the 1960s. Now it's around 60, 70%. But yeah, it's a lot more about the actual, because Bell wouldn't really be a character.
Okay.
That's the thing. Moss would be a character. Shigur would be a character. Bell could be a character in the sense that the resignation could be there, but it's like, I can't do this anymore because like, okay, every time a guy pops up, we kill him, or we're stopped from killing him because of politics, or we can't kill him in this way, or we have to, or we don't have the resources or whatever. It's like, I can't do this anymore. The resignation would be for different reasons. It wouldn't be for a guy who's like, yes, everything was beautiful and wonderful. There wouldn't be this romanticization would be, there would be less politics impeding me from killing this guy. That would be the romantic ideal of the past in a way.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so I guess in that respect, it is a very American story, I guess, because the
aesthetics are all very American. Yeah, the aesthetics are very American too, which is great to see.
Nostalgic for a simpler time that didn't exist is very American.
Yeah. I think a lot of people levy that as a negative quality of romanticism, but I actually think it's the strength of romanticism is that it imagines a past that wasn't, and maybe that means that you can imagine a future that hasn't yet been something like that.
Oh,
I am,
The,
yeah.
the rose colored glasses of nostalgia are great for creating a meta narrative that will inspire you to actually try to create the past that didn't exist. It's like those, like the imagined golden ages that Greece or Rome will talk about. It never really happened. Those inspired them to try to recreate those golden ages. So those, I'm all for that. That's all positives.
It's really because you have to have two lenses, because or there are two lenses. Not that you have to have. It's just that there are. There is the everything in the past was shit. Just watch any medieval TV show where there is no color. Any church or religious building is
He must
colorless.
be a king.
And
How can you tell? Hasn't got shit all over him. Yeah.
I love Monty Python, but the damage that one line has done to cinema is unbelievable. I mean, Holy Grail is one of my favorite movies, but
Yeah.
man,
Oh no. I'm a medievalist by training. I'm the first one to point out that peasants were not covered in shit 24/7. They actually did take baths. Yeah,
Yeah, they
they
did.
washed their clothes. Yeah.
I couldn't even get through
they
Monty
loved
Python.
painting
I
their
tried.
churches.
Yeah, they
Things
were actually
people really liked color back in the day.
yeah, color,
Mhm.
because color
Of
was
course
something.
you would.
Color, if you're poor, color is a kind of non-monetary wealth. It makes your life more vibrant and happier. Yeah, to have color. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want. You're not like people had paint. They didn't have all paint. Some paints were rare or harder to make than others, but like they had paint and they would use it for things.
Yeah,
Well,
They
one
would
of
just
the-
leave it lying there.
See, like one of St. Paul's biggest benefactors was just a lady who dealt exclusively in the color purple.
that's right. Yeah.
That's all she dealt with. Was that, like she could just the color purple in her dye. That's all she had, but she was roasted because of it. I'm like, that's weird to think about. That her entire trade was just the color purple.
Well,
That's-
Yeah,
I mean, think
Which
of
is
the
cool.
crypto. I mean, it's the ancient equivalent of the crypto market. What is that really? I don't even know what that is, but I guess you can make money doing it, right? It's like,
Yeah,
what do you sell? I
it's
sell
the color
purple.
of if I remember correctly, it's the color of emperors. Julius
it's-
Caesar was accused of wanting to be an emperor because he was wearing a purple sash around his toga, which is one of the reasons the conspirators.
That's actually a great scene in Rome on HBO. Is he's
I haven't
trying on
seen
different
that show.
outfits for his first march, and he's like, "This too much purple. I want purple, but I don't
Yep.
want too much purple."
Yeah.
Yeah, but that actually
scene.
would be because if you know the history of the color purple, because it was the hardest color to make, because I think you actually had to crush up a sea creature,
Yeah, it's
like
a
a small little
Yeah.
it was shells. To make it, that was the only way to make it. So it was the most expensive color. So is the color of emperors.
Yeah.
And so that actually is like Julius Caesar asking himself, "Do I want to be an emperor or not? Like, is it too much? Is it too little?" Yeah,
If you haven't seen Rome yet, Bodes, I recommend you check it out.
I will watch it. I
Rome
will
is
put it
good.
on the list.
Rome is good.
But
Yeah.
what I just mentioned with that way of viewing the past is like maybe the dark colored glasses,
Yeah.
and then you have the rose colored glasses, and you have to probably be aware that reality is actually you have to put them both on
It's
at the
cool.
same time, which is where my metaphor breaks down. Because if you did, you wouldn't see shit because of how glasses work. But
Nah, man, trifocus, man, trifocus. Okay, you got the meta narrative, you got the rose colored, you got the dark shaded ones. Okay, you're all right there. Ben Franklin figured this out. We're good.
Ben Franklin. But you have to kind of realize that there were actually really good things about the past, and there were actually probably things that were probably really not good. We're dumb or whatever. But also, in the past, people weren't dumb. You can just read any writer from almost any century. You're like, there was at least one way smarter person than me.
Even the Indians
over
had
there.
a how do you say his name? What's that Indian philosopher dude? Sakana, what's his name? Bodes, you know what I'm talking about. He was a
Adi
Trinitarian guy.
Shankaracharya.
Yeah, even Indians had that guy. So if they can have one smart writer, I assume other countries have at least 4.
The reason Caleb says he's smart is because he kind of describes the God as a trinity.
He's
in
the
his
one
book.
Indian
In his
who gets the
commentary in
pass.
the Bhagavad Gita. He kind of gets to the trinity by basically rational means.
Yeah,
which
it's
is
the one cool thing Indians have.
Interesting. Yeah, the Bhagavad Gita is a strange text. It's a bizarre text.
Yeah, there's been and the way a lot of their philosophers did commentate or did philosophy was commentating on the Bhagavad Gita or their larger cycle. I forget the Vedas. His school specifically was the Advaita Vedanta, which is kind of there is no separation between the godheads. I think the way he described it is free soul. No, one soul and 3 masks, but he still says that's just an image. That's not the actual reality, because that would fall into modalism. He was a modalist, if I remember correctly. But yeah, that's why he likes Shankaracharya. But you have to realize that even when there were stupid things being done in the past, the people doing them probably had a decent reason to do them.
Mhm.
Like, speaking of Maz, it's like, well, getting that money was stupid. Well, yeah, in hindsight, but if you had $2 million in front of you, it's like, well, that's a good reason to get those $2 million in and of itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a good reason why we do stupid things a
Yeah.
lot of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I'm certain like why didn't he take advantage of the help offered to him by Sheriff Bell? I think it's because, well, then he'd probably be arrested, right? For
Yeah,
he's been
he'd go to
involved
jail.
in crime. Yeah, like he's been. I mean, maybe you can make an argue that he was justified for some of it, but like he's totally wrapped up in this entire thing. They're going to take the money away too, right? He's trying to have everything.
Yeah.
And you really just can't have everything. It's like,
And his wife, I remember in the movie, in the book, in the movie they never state her age, but I think they try to pass her off as being younger than Llewellyn to pay attention. She's way younger than Llewellyn. She's like 20 years is younger. No, not 20 years, like 15 or something like that.
Yeah.
She met him when she was like 17 and he was like 30, and they've been married for like 6 years. She was working at Walmart, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, Walmart,
which is a funny detail. But
you are
yeah.
now retired. I love that. You are retired. Yeah. I work at Walmart. You are retired. Yeah.
But yeah, he has this like young wife depending on him, and he actually really worries about her. He plays the stoic. He is a stoic character, but he does actually really, really worry and care about his wife. You can tell in the small interactions they have. He just also won't brook shit from her. He's like, no, we're doing this now.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, I guess like I said, I guess it's maybe it's not exhausting to be a nihilist. I mean, maybe the Coen brothers had changed their mind from the making of Big Lebowski to No Country. I mean, maybe it's only being a nihilist is exhausting to the dude because the dude is not a nihilist. I mean, maybe for real nihilists, it's the best
For
thing
real
ever,
psychos, right? If you're
Yeah,
Shigur.
Yeah, and he seems to be
But
happy
even
in his work.
still, I think they imply it's like Shigur is probably going to meet his end in the same inglorious way as Llewellyn by the car crash. It's gonna be like, it's not gonna be like, oh, there's gonna be some final cool culmination of your life. No, it's just you're gonna get shot in the back of the head because you got old and you got tired and there was someone younger.
I really thought he was gonna die in that car crash. I really thought that was the end. I'm like, this is I thought it's a great ending. He's gonna be killed.
The book, it's very much not. It's very much left ambiguous whether he managed to survive because he crawled away from it and managed to get the shirt and so on. But it's like, well, but did he actually manage to heal up? Did anyone catch him? So on, and that's left ambiguous in the book.
Yeah, the movie leaves it less. The movie still leaves it somewhat ambiguous, but not as ambiguous as the book. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And I
really
do like the last scene. Killed by a random act. Like after all the violence he's done, the coin toss and all that kind of stuff, he is just killed by an accident. Which I really like the ideal.
Yeah, I think
plays into the chaos and fate of the coin toss.
I also like the idea that he's just walking the neighborhoods of I guess it'd be or Eagle Pass or wherever. Like he's just walking the neighborhoods. I don't know if this was done on purpose. I'm probably reading this into it. That's fine. We kill the author. We're like Roland Barthes. We kill authors around here all the time. But that last scene where he gets the sling, gets the shirt from the kids, turns into sling, and is walking, leaving the scene of an accident. And he's just like walking through the streets. They did a pretty good job of capturing the early '80s in this movie. And
yeah, that was very impressive as a piece of set design.
He's walking through this early '80s neighborhood. A strange figure of death, and I'm like, this feels like Halloween a bit. Like he's just lumbering through this neighborhood now, this like psychopathic killer, and you don't see what he's gonna, and then he just disappears. I'm like, I don't know if that was done on purpose. I'm like, this feels like kind of like weirdly rhyming with John Carpenter's Halloween of like same time period, through just walking through the streets and like completely unassuming, kind of quote unquote stupid, or let's say ignorant, people.
Naive,
like,
I think might be a better word.
What's that?
Naive.
Yeah, naive. The naive people. And he's just like, I'm like, that it, and then you don't ever know what he does after that. So at least in the movie version too, it has this kind of like weird, like, I found that deeply unsettling. It's not just that he has a bone sticking out of his arm. Sir, you got a bone sticking out of your arm. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, because if he felt it would like advantage him, he'd absolutely break into a house, kill everyone there,
Right.
and like use whatever they had to heal
Yeah.
himself up
Yeah.
to rest. Yeah, he'd just do that, which is because you can easily imagine him knocking on a door and asking
Right.
for
Yeah.
help, and
Would you
before
stand
anyone calls
still,
the cops,
please?
yeah, would you stand still, please?
Yeah. Are
Can
you the
easily
census
imagine.
man? Boom. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, which is actually that's also a really great little thematic piece. The fact I don't know what that thing is called.
It's a cat. Oh, wow. It's a
It's used to
cattle.
kill cat, but the
Yeah, I forget what.
important thing is that it's used to kill cattle, which
Yeah.
is kind of how he regards everyone and treats everyone
Yeah.
in his. That's it's such a great
Dude,
introduction to the
see
character.
when
Just
he
stay still was like exactly like a
it's
cow. Like that's
Yeah.
just exactly how he uses it.
and the guy just standing there
It's
like, what's
great.
that do? And it's just like, dude, you're gonna die. You're gonna die. You just watch it like you're going to die, and you just stand there like an idiot. Like, what's that do? It's
But yeah, if you're a naive
incredible.
guy and you're like this, well-dressed dude steps out of a cop car and it's like gets like an instrument, it's like, wait, are you checking if I'm drunk? Are you like taking
Yeah.
my temperature? What's going on here?
And
It's like
boom.
just boom, falls down.
Yeah.
It's and they kind of imply maybe Bell figured out that he was using that when he gives Carla Jean the story. But I forget. But do they imply that, or am I just reading it? Because in the book, he does figure it out why there weren't bullets in the corpses.
I think it's
Because there is a moment where he kind of pauses and looks away, and I
Mhm.
think that's when he's like, "Oh shit, that's what we're dealing with." It's a guy who just recognizes people as cattle to him, doesn't
Yeah.
even afford the respect of a gun. Because
Yeah.
it's slightly more useful to not leave a bullet behind. So he's not going to leave a bullet behind if he can help it, and it can open doors, it can bust down locks.
Yeah.
Very
I
useful.
love that sound too. It's so menacing.
Yeah.
Just every time, it's great. It's just
Yeah.
there's a
The
lot of like
sound, the
little
sound
things
design
that
for the film
characters
was
do.
incredible.
Yeah,
Well,
it
because
was
there's
so
no-
good.
Because there's
Incredible
no
sound design.
because there's no soundtrack, right? So the
Mhm.
sound design has to be awesome.
Really important. Yeah, they
Yeah.
really paid attention to it. I also find it great that every now and then, what's his name? Shigur misses a shot, and like when he breaks into the hotel room with the three Mexicans, he missed the shot, and the guy just has his arm dangling, and then he has to take another shot to kill him. It's just like, yeah, he isn't perfect, but he's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
But it's nice to know that he doesn't get kill shot every single time.
Well, he can be harmed.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I don't know if any of you have seen Raising Arizona to bring old.
I've heard of it, but I haven't.
Old
That's the Nick Cage
oh,
film.
It's got the world's greatest actor in it, Nicolas Cage,
Okay, yeah.
Oh
I've heard of this
shit,
one.
I'm definitely watching
and
that then.
Holly Hunter. Holly Hunter's in it as well. Also great actress, Holly Hunter, who was also in Oh Brother. So there's the connection, Caleb. So I won't spoil Raising Arizona. That would be a fun movie to do sometime. It's a really funny.
This is incredible. Holly
It's
Hunter.
a great movie. It's the world's most uplifting story about child theft. It really is what I'll say. It is a movie about child theft, but it's really uplifting. There's a figure in that movie that is this, like, I don't want to spoil too much. I'll also say a menacing figure who is just unstoppable in his desire to catch someone. And so that was like back in the late 80s. And so it's interesting seeing No Country for Old Men, how the Coen Brothers returned to this idea of like the unstoppable agent of death, but it's not funny this time at all. It's actually
Yeah.
like, it's actually how it would be, is like, yeah, because in Raising Arizona, it's actually hilarious. So I highly recommend Raising Arizona to both of you guys and anyone
I mean,
watching.
Oh Brother, there is a figure like that. The police guy with like the glasses that usually reflect.
Who's also
He kind
probably
of
the devil.
yeah, who's
Yeah, he's
very
collecting souls, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
very much. And they're only saved by basically an act of God.
Yeah.
And then George Clooney's character immediately is like, well,
They're electrifying the valley.
He sprays for it. It immediately happens. He's like, well, there's a perfectly natural explanation for
Exactly.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a great film.
It is.
Yeah, that one also dialogues a lot with the theme of fate and
Oh yeah.
and destiny. But in a very humorous, charming way. From basically the fortune teller of the blind fortune teller at the beginning, all the way to the end. And it's a great little movie. I like the little nods to the Odyssey as
Yeah, yeah.
well.
I love John Goodman as the Cyclops.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Cyclops.
So
He
good.
was a great Cyclops.
Ah,
Yeah.
he's great in everything.
Yes, he is. Well,
I
final
need to rewatch
thoughts.
Big Lebowski now. I think
Yeah, Big
about it.
Lebowski's. Oh, it's a.
I
that's-
haven't watched Big Lebowski.
What the fuck?
Dude, you gotta check
What
it
is
out. It's so
wrong?
good.
Do you
I
not
think
have
I've
it?
wa-
Is it not been released in Brazil? What's going on? You're
I
like,
haven't watched their two
I'm
most
sorry.
famous movies. I haven't watched Fargo or Big Lebowski.
I
which is
I
Well,
haven't seen Fargo either.
I've actually, I will see if you guys are up for this. I think this is going great. I'd love to keep doing this. Fargo I was also on my list of movies to maybe suggest because, if you guys follow Kufefe Anon, he has this great
Yep.
bit where he talks about Fargo. The lesson of Fargo is there's no such thing as a fake crime, which was a great point, and it's a great movie because the movie's all about the fact there's no such thing as a fake crime. You cannot fake crimes. You either
Mhm.
just commit crimes or you don't commit crimes.
Mhm.
So yeah, you haven't seen Fargo or Big Lebowski?
Big Lebowski. Yeah, I
Oh
have
my
it.
gosh.
Dude, Big Lebowski has my favorite scene from Philip Seymour Hoffman.
It's
Just-
actually really
it's
impressive
so
that I haven't seen Big Lebowski because it was playing on TV during like my first 15 years of life all the fucking time. Because we had like 3 different channels which would just play like not random, but selected
Yeah.
movies. And like one of them, it seemed at all hours of the day, either had Big Lebowski or during the commercial break advertised that they would have Big Lebowski later on in the day.
Was it dubbed in Portuguese?
Sometimes
Oh, that would be
there was one channel was another was like subtitled.
okay.
But yeah, I still
Yeah,
watch movies with subtitles
I
most of the
watched-
time because I'm
I
just so
watched-
used to it.
I watched Lebowski once in German just for fun to see how it was, and it wasn't bad, but it was because I speak fluent German. It was very weird. I was like, it's just not hitting right, like because it's not the original dialogue. Because I love the lines of the movie, right? Like it's almost like a litany. You have to say it in the original. It's like
Dude,
it's like
if you
pre-Vatican, but it has
understand,
to be in Latin. It has to be in the original.
Yeah.
You can't translate it. It loses the
if you
power.
understand some Portuguese or some Spanish, it's worth checking out the Portuguese dub of The Sopranos or the Soprano family, as it's called in Portuguese. It is hilarious. It is really, really funny. It's so funny. It's awesome.
Probably unintentionally. Yeah.
Unintentional. Like,
Unintentionally.
if you're a native speaker and you have no idea what it's supposed to look like,
Right.
you're just kind of grateful that this guy actually recently died. The guy who bought the rights to dub it and put it on Brazilian television. I think he put it on public television too because he was the owner of a public television channel. So Sopranos was publicly available here for
Wow.
for a while, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he recently died, and so someone was like, we have to thank him for all these like dubs, which are like really funny. But actually did bring a show that was really good to a bunch of people who had no idea. So it's like it's good if you have no idea what it's like.
Yeah.
Because I remember like watching Power Rangers in English for the first time was confusing to me as a kid. Because like we're not supposed to. Why are the lips matching? It's like stuff like that. It's like, that's not how it's supposed to work, And there's usually an announcer in the beginning saying the dubbing company responsible for it. There isn't an announcer here saying the dubbing company responsible for it. It's just funny.
That's very funny. Yeah.
I'm having a great time. If you want to pick another movie out when we cover it again, I'm down.
Fargo would be a natural.
Fargo?
I will-
Yeah,
Can we just do
Fargo
a Coen Brothers thing? 'Cause
or
pick
Raising
another Coen
Arizona.
Brothers
I mean,
thing?
if you want something funny, I'd say a funny Coen Brothers is definitely Raising Arizona. It sounds like neither of you have seen Raising Arizona.
I have not.
Again,
So
it's
are we doing a Coen Brothers series now? Have you
Well, we
ever
don't have
pick
to,
one?
but
I'm
I mean,
down for that. They're my favorite directors.
I
Is
think
Raising
that's-
Arizona Cohen?
yeah, it's one of their very early films. They're
Also, I
not
believe
their
that's
first.
when they
okay.
said they wouldn't work with Nicolas Cage again. They have to do it. Apparently they hate improv. They don't want the actors to improv because they have the perfect script. And Nick Cage kept trying to improv scenes. They kept saying,
Because
"No,
he's so
Nick,
great.
no."
Cage is just so great. He just will do. Yeah, he'll take your script and make it better. It'll be his movie.
They probably really loved working with Tommy Lee Jones because there's a really funny. Because Friedkin made a movie with Benicio del Toro and Tommy Lee Jones called The Hunted, and he has a really
I've seen
funny
that one.
comment.
That's a good
Yeah,
movie.
it's a great movie. But
Yeah.
Friedkin was asked like about directing actors, and he's like, "Well, with Tommy, amazing actor. You just tell him, okay, you do this, you go here, you talk there, you go there, you ponder, then you leave." And then he's like, runs that by you, gets the assistant director, put a mark here, put a mark there, does the scene, beautiful. Benicio, however, is like, when I tell, it's like, okay, so you start here in the scene, it's like, why could I be lying down on the floor? What was my character doing when he was 12 years old? And he's like, so I just made a bullshit. I just made a bullshit so that to get him to do what I wanted. That's all I did.
I gotta say,
It's
one
like,
of my favorite Coen Brothers like anecdotes is the reason Bill Murray did the Garfield movie is because he saw a Conan was a director and he assumed it was one of the Coen brothers. And so he signed on, not realizing it was spelled differently, and he got fucked and he fucked is forced to do a film he hated, which is why the line delivery for Garfield is so deadpan and funny. He just hated being there. He's like, why the fuck am I here? He
Poor
wanted to work
Bill
with the Coen brothers
Murray.
and misread the script.
Yeah.
It's just
there
incredible.
actually is a pretty good adaptation of Macbeth also, but I believe it's only by one of the Coen brothers. I forget if
Yeah.
it's Joel
That's
or
one was
Ethan.
Denzel Washington.
With Denzel, yeah.
That was
He's
pretty
actually
good.
really good.
Denzel
like
can
Denzel.
play any character. I normally I'm the kind of guy who gets mad when they you can't waste drop a historical figure. It's Denzel. He
Denzel
can do it.
Washington.
I mean,
Denzel
Macbeth
can-
is like, I yes, there was a Thane of Cawdor. Yes, I believe he became King of Scotland. But like in any Shakespeare, like Richard III is not history. Richard was
Yeah.
probably not. Maybe he wasn't that evil a guy. There's still historical dispute about whether he killed the princes in the tower, stuff like that.
Mhm.
Because in only one account there was a guy who confessed, in other historical accounts the guy didn't confess.
Yeah.
So no one knows.
I love those historical moments where you're like, we're pretty sure he killed this person, but we're not sure. Like Cortez and his first wife. Like no one really everyone's like, we're pretty sure he strangled her in her sleep, but we can't prove it. So we're just gonna assume he didn't. But like everyone's like, yeah, he probably did. It's
Another
incredible.
great example of Macbeth, not Macbeth, of like Shakespeare's like where you can do anything. It's like Titus Andronicus is absolutely like insane mishmash of like 5 different eras of Rome. I think it has like every single institution Rome ever had during its 500 years. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
It's absolutely not historical or supposed to, it isn't historical. Andronicus
supposed to be, though.
Pausanias.
It's not
Yeah, it's
supposed
not
to be.
supposed.
It's
Yeah, and
because
Richard III isn't historical
Yeah.
either. Neither is
Well,
Hamlet. You can do whatever you want with those.
it's mythical, and I think that this is I think it's interesting because like a lot of people have talked about that I don't know how, again, because the Western as an international genre works different in different countries, but in America, the Western is essentially is a lot of our mythology. Like our historical mythology is our Westerns, and so I think it's this in No Country, like we've been saying, the mythic clashes real hard with the modern, and they exist they exist, but they don't coexist like happily. And that's I think also why this film just I think sometimes people say, oh, it's like the pacing is bad or it doesn't make sense, and then I'm like, well, it's as pretentious as it is to say, it's maybe not supposed to quote unquote make sense. It's not supposed to make you feel happy. It's supposed to make you feel like, oh yeah, history is actually really kind of crazy, and I mean,
messy.
and we live in history, as everyone said, right? Like Fukuyama bros are always wrong, right? Like we do live in history, and this is, and I mean at that last scene, right? Like this is what history has always been. This is what history is. You're in it right now, Sheriff Bell. This is history. You're like, oh,
And the last scene, the
yeah,
very last scene where Bella is talking about
we'll
his
finish it
dreams,
up with that. Yeah,
goes back to the mythical as well,
right.
where he's like
The fire,
the dream of his father carries the fire alone,
but
and
carrying the fire,
yeah,
as we
carrying
know,
the fire,
is a very
and
McCarthy.
yes,
The road,
yeah,
carrying
exactly,
the
yeah,
fire.
that's true, yeah,
The
exactly,
road
yeah,
is
that's a
carrying the
big thing of
fire.
the road, yeah,
Yeah, it's
carrying
your
the
turn
fire,
to carry the fire.
and he
Yeah,
knows that whenever he goes there, and in the dream, I knew whenever I went wherever I followed him there into that dark and desolate land, he would be
yeah.
with a fire waiting for me. And then I woke up. Just a great juxtaposition where it's like, wait, so which one is true? Is it just a dream? Is there a deeper truth to this dream, or is it just illusions that we try to comfort ourselves with? And I think Bell, by his facial expression, Jones is an amazing actor, kind of conveys that conflict within himself as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Again, yeah, the carrying the fire is a very McCarthyian trope image. Yeah, that makes me think of The Road, which is the only time I've cried reading a book is that final scene
It's
in The Road.
amazing.
Yeah,
Oof.
yeah.
Oh,
It made me cry. Like I was like, wow, like that, because it's yeah. But yeah, no, I mean like that scene. It's interesting because like I hadn't. So I'll get super autobiographical here. I hadn't watched this movie since my dad died, and I had watched the movie the first time with my dad. because my dad was a cop, and it was like, oh, it's this like, it's a kind of a meditation
It's a
on
cop. Yeah.
policing and violence and all the crime and punishment and all the Dostoevsky things.
Mhm.
But watching it now, like I'm like, oh, this is the first time I've watched it since he's not here. And then that scene at the end, I'm like, whoa, this is hitting like on 3 levels
Mhm.
simultaneously. I was like, whoa, yeah. And I mean, there's no clear. You're left to determine whether
Mhm.
which one is right, but
Yeah,
or
I
what
will
Bill thinks
only
is
add
right.
that in the book, there's one extra detail to that final scene where he says that he always talked because they had a daughter, he and him and his wife, but she died when she was like young, if I remember,
Okay.
she was still a child, and he still talks to her, and he said, and he's talking to the audience directly. This is one of his monologues. Like, you may think me silly, but I know she answers me sometimes,
Yeah.
and so whenever I'm confused as to what to do, I ask her. I ask her name. I
Yeah.
forget it.
Yeah.
Then he goes on to this, he describing the dream with his father, which is
Yeah.
a great ending to the novel
Mhm.
and to
Yeah.
the movie as well. It's so good.
It is good. Well, I think that we could go forever. I think that's probably a good
Mhm.
finish it with the final scene.
Yep.
So Caleb and Bulge, tell everyone where people can find you. We'll start with the first Bulge, you're new here.
Yep.
And where can people find you? What kind of stuff do you do? What do you want to anything you want to shout out? We're a small
I'm
channel, but we have people follow,
yeah.
people watch it. Yeah.
Me and well, I don't run it. Caleb has a YouTube channel. I don't, we've changed. He's changed the name so many times. I don't
Three
remember.
times. Three
3
times. That's
times.
him.
That's
Okay.
that's a lot of times. I don't.
First
I
two were
think
under
it's
100 subscribers. Okay, doesn't count.
I I think it's called Thomas Reviews at the moment. I am
Yes.
doing a book club on Jacques Maritain Degrees of Knowledge, a book on epistemology with Einkath. I don't remember his username. I don't even think he's on Twitter anymore.
No,
But
not really.
no, he's very busy at the moment. But I do a book club there. We're go chugging through that book. I also write for the Substack of Thomas Reviews, just articles on philosophy. I guess
Yeah.
I've mostly done epistemology and I guess some philosophy of mind and book summaries a lot of the time, or book commentaries on AI, Scruton, Wittgenstein, so on.
You have a great
Uh,
article on the hyperreality of marriage, which everyone should check out.
Hyper reality of marriage. I'll have to
I
check
think
that
I
out.
reread that and there's one slight typo and I wanted to die when I reread that and saw
I'm
it.
your
It's a
It's
little
editor,
only in
dog.
your
typo.
There's always
second
going to be a
language with
typo.
one typo. I mean, I feel like that's
Yeah.
pretty good. So yeah, I can't even write English without typos, and it's my first language. So there you go.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
no,
But
you are clearly a gentleman and a scholar. You're very much. I could tell you're a philosopher by the way you. Whether yes,
it's
yes.
not even, I'm currently in university. It's not even my degree. I'm wasting my time with, I do economics. I'm wasting my time with this shit. It's what I like to read, so it's what I like
Yeah,
to
no, you
write.
follow your. We all have our passion projects. Yeah,
Hmm.
the things we do when we're not doing our day job. Caleb, you've been on before, but let people know all the things that you do and where people can find you. I know, obviously, you there's some crossover with Bulge as well,
Hmm.
but yeah,
Thomas Reviews on YouTube and Spotify and wherever you get your podcasts. We have like both mentioned, we have philosophy book clubs. We have a history of philosophy series, which David and I do. Connor and I are going to start a Chester Belloc poetry hour where we're going to do poetry and essays. Ian and I are currently doing Education at a Crossroads from Jacques Maritain. We're doing the next episode tomorrow night. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. The Substack, check it out. We all post articles there. Anything else?
Your
Not.
Twitter username.
Oh no, I don't plug my Twitter. If you
Okay.
want to find me, you find me. Also, it's
Yeah.
White Trash Socrates. How easy is it? I mean,
there's
come on,
only
we
one
made
white trash
jokes. You can
Socrates.
figure it out. It's easy. Also, I
Yeah.
don't do anything on Twitter besides shit posts. There's no point.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
my Twitter has basically devolved into this as well. So
Yeah,
Yeah, mine as
Yeah.
well.
occasional shit post, and then it's shit posting racism against Indians. Okay, that's all it is. I will shout out because he would hate it if I did shout it out and associate my name with it. I'm going to do it anyway. Check out Integralist Revival from Q on YouTube and Twitter. He is a fantastic young guy
friend of
who is
ours.
doing great stuff on integralism. I recommend everyone to check him out. He deals a lot with the other libertarian types from Mises Institute. So if you enjoy
Yeah, young guy.
that
He's
level
like
of
12 or
autism,
something, right?
yeah. So if you enjoy the level of autism and you want a 12-year-old who looks like a Gen Z, he looks like Alexander the Great if he grew up on microplastics.
Wow.
That's actually not that bad a description of Q. He's a good looking
No,
young
I know
man.
he has. I told him he has
But-
I told him when he hits the gym, he's got to develop Macedonian masculinity. That's what he needs to be
Yeah, he will.
developing. No, great guy, great kid. Everyone go check out his stuff. Yeah, that's about it.
Cool. Well, thanks to both of you for coming on. Let's have you back on. And I want to push for, let's do Raising Arizona. It's a more
All right.
uplifting. It is the world's most uplifting story about child theft. So yeah.
Probably
And
not
it's
a
got-
high watermark, to be
Yeah,
fair.
well, and it's got the greatest living actor, Nick Cage. So
Nick
it's
Cage.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll watch anything Nick Cage is in,
yeah.
except
yeah.
for
I'd
Ghost
love
Rider
to.
2. I won't do that again.
Yeah, well, he can't
I
have
won't
all
do
things.
one again either, but
The first one is nostalgic. It was like the first movie I saw with my mom let me see with had like a skull in it because it was very
It is
anti-violence.
nostalgic.
And so it's like
That's
I get, I'm like I can see Ghost Rider and see those. Let's go.
Very cool. Well, everyone, take it easy. We'll be back on for some more breakdown stuff. Obviously with these two fine gentlemen of movies. I hope to have Pause should be coming back on sometime during spooky
Hell
season.
yeah.
We're going to break down Ghostbusters. I am actually a published author on Ghostbusters in a peer-reviewed
Oh,
journal,
hell
so
yeah.
we're going to talk about Ghostbusters and Dan Aykroyd's weird family history.
Oh, that'd be
I
interesting.
love Dan Aykroyd
yeah.
so much.
Yeah, we'll have some spooky season stuff on. I'll be having Fred come on soon from England. We're gonna look at some Dickens ghost stories, and so yeah, spooky season will
Fun.
be fun. We'll do some more stuff with these two fine gentlemen, and yeah, until then, everyone, take it easy.